Hello everyone, good evening, and it's usually quite sunny in this part of the world, but we are greeted by heavens opened. It is a full wet qualifying session here at Portugal for round 11 of the WOR Tier 3 Championship. And it is, again, solo from myself this evening, Joseph F1. Good to see you all. I hope you do enjoy this race thoroughly. And although it's a slightly reduced grid yet again, we still should see cracking racing around this 4.6 kilometre long circuit in the south of Portugal. Opened in 2008, this track has held tests for Formula 1, but only as recently as 2020, its first Grand Prix, if you remember, due to COVID, put on the calendar, and again so in 2021, sadly, omitted in 2022. It's always a roller coaster ride here, and it's great to be able to race on it on the F1 game, as we all know, as we did in season 11, where pole sitter half 234 did it in dry conditions. Now he's got to try and master it in the wet as well. So we're going to go on board with the Aston Martin driver for the first tour of the evening. However, in wet conditions, perhaps not a favourable situation to practice. Turn 8 is going to be even harder than it was initially. 15 minutes on the clock for the 15 drivers to set the fastest time possible. They've got to be wary of the ever-changing track conditions. It's going to get just a little bit drier as the session goes on, as the wet tyres shift water off the line, of course. But Harv making his way now into turn 14. 15 corners around this circuit. Heading into the 15th and final one now. Let's get the first time on the board, and it's a 1 minute 28.4. Whether that's quick or not at this stage, who knows, is of course the first one of the session. Let's follow teammate the Humperdinck, last season's reigning champion. And speaking of potential champions, we'll get into that shortly. But the Humperdinck rounding the final corner now. No DRS to open. Reaching over 180 miles an hour, crossing the line, just goes slower than Limpjet, who just set a lap prior to the Humperdinck's effort. LCR Rafik going P4 with a 31.1. Cheetah up to second, then a second off the pace of Harv, whose controller at this stage, you might have to argue, is giving him that upper hand. But debates aside, we have a debuting partnership this evening, both in the AlphaTauri. TTM Rossi and Ruben Adams making their Tier 3 debut this evening. Ruben Adams, who set aside the F1 game for a little while, was initially placed in Tier 2. But since now committing to Wednesdays, he's able to find a reserve spot in Tier 3. Which is good to see. TTM Rossi, a Tier 4 driver, getting the opportunity this evening. Reduced numbers have allowed for that. Adam Dude crossing the line then. He picked up a win last time out at Albert Park. It was the first of his season. However, he wasn't able to take the full 25 points as the race was cut short due to desync. And so half points were awarded. Because of that, he's just 1 point behind typical F1 in the race for second place. Championship then at the moment, Flying Rossi, who was pointless in Albert Park, full points or not, didn't get any. So he still leads the way by a 58.5 point gap, which I hope doesn't get too confusing, saying the 0.5s. But Adam Dude back on 59.5 points. Well, behind by 59.5 points. Then the Humperdinck, who scored 9 points after a second place in Albert Park, is 65 points back. And Flying Rossi cannot win the championship today, but he can take a huge stride forward with a race victory to potentially sealing it in Jeddah next week. So that's really exciting if he does get a good result here today. We are so close to crowning Flying Rossi as the Tier 3 champion. 5 races to go. It's the start of the final 5-round stretch, beginning in Portimao and ending in Brazil towards the end of May. And Harvey's going again here. 127.6 now his best effort. Is he going to go quicker than that? His battery running pretty low. But it just about matches it. About 600ths of a second off this time around. Harv, a good effort. A good consistent effort, you have to say so far. 4/10ths clear of second place man in the championship. Typical F1. And speaking of Harv, he had the opportunity in Mexico to salvage some points. Blew it really on the strategy. Australia didn't go his way either. He did have another solid race in the top 5, finishing 5th, but of course only able to take 5 points due to the half points situation that we got in the end. Liam Hardman a second down on his previous best. Cheetah in 5th place at the moment. He's not been able to have a consistent championship after winning the first 2 races. He had some miss Russia, DNF'd in Austria, and despite picking up just the 1 podium since, it's not really got going for him in terms of race winning form like it did at the start of the season. Obviously, I believe I mentioned this last week as well, but practice time changes, pace changes. It is a cycle that you've got to keep up with if you want to be successful in the F1 esports scene. So far, 2 DNFs for Limpjet and Rafik. I believe Rafik spun at turn 1 and might have pressed retire on his car. Flying Rozzy is on his outlap. I believe he was taking a dump. So that's why he's out there 8 minutes into the session. Meanwhile, let's see if we've got out there improving. Looks like Liam Hardman's on a good lap. Into turn 7, taking lots of apex there. Using a bit of curb to steady himself for turn 8, which he handles pretty nicely. Tentative on the traction as it is as you go up and down the hills. These natural elevation changes make it a super exciting circuit from a driver's point of view, especially when you can push flat out. It's not quite the case in the wet conditions, of course. But into turn 13, just 2 more corners to go. Downhill, tricky right-hander as the penultimate corner. Keep a tight line. Track quite difficult to spot when it's coated in this rainfall. Taking a lot of curb and ultimately into the pit lane then for Liam Hardman, 5th in the session at the moment. Well, we were talking about the 2 debutants earlier, but TTM Rossi and Ruben Adams have managed to come together. There's no front wing on that AlphaTauri. Checking in on the condition of the other one, there's no front wing on the other. So, Ruben Adams picking up a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with his teammate. At the moment, 11th and 12th respectively for the pair of them, but, well, you have to say, I don't think that's going to improve too heavily. Or whether they'll be motivated to do that, I'm not too sure. But Flying Rozzy on his first flying lap. Just look how difficult it is for the McLaren driver to gain traction. And again going up through turn 4. He just cannot place the car where he wants it to go. Braking now for turn number 5. Extended braking zones in the wet, of course. And again, really struggling even in 4th gear. Snap of oversteer. Having to shift it up into 5th. He can really gain too much momentum, really quite wide of the apex into turn 7, up through turn 8, down the hill he goes, a bit more committed with the curb on that occasion. Next up is turn 11, again sliding wide, and should the race be dry, which I assume it is at this stage, because this is looking like a dry setup completely. Car control is a massive factor at Portimao. So many off-camber curves. This driver has to adapt to, and that's a high-speed slide. Is he going to keep it under control? Flying Rozzy all over the shop and still managing to go 11th fastest, but that is a slow lap time of a 31.8, and you could see there the car, just no matter how little or how much throttle he's putting under his right foot, Oh, that is a misbehaving McLaren. I know it's equal cars, but that is a car set up for the dry. The Humperdinck really giving it everything through the final corner. Just a slight lift in his Aston Martin is up to the line. He goes, sticking it fourth at this moment in time with an improvement of just over a tenth of a second. Back to Harv then, who's improving on his best lap. Wide at the apex at turn 7. It might have cost him just a little bit of time up through turn 8 now. And just comparing Harv and Flying Rossi at this stage, you can see how differently those cars are set up. Harv has really struck a balance. Thought he ran just a touch wide there, but the lap stays valid, and on he goes into the penultimate corner. A lot of curb to get the car rotated in. Again, nicely on the throttle. How aggressive is he going to be into the final corner? The car looks like it wants to snap underneath him. He eventually runs wide, and the lap time will not count. It was nowhere near good enough to strike an improvement on his provisional pole time so far, but with Adam Dude, the most recent race winner this season, it's mounting some pressure on last season's pole sitter and winner around here. Harv does love Portimao, doesn't he? Squidge crossing the line, invalid on this lap. It looks like he may have extended one of the final couple of corners, which does give you this and next lap invalidated. So that is something to be aware of in these qualifying sessions. Both AlphaTauris having another go. One of them, Ruben Adams, with a 5-place grid penalty. After contact with his teammate, I know they are communicating, and so whether that was preventable or not, you'd have to assume so. Troy PJ. Wow, that was a surprising mouthful. Formerly PSR Troy. Having a good go in this session. He's 26th in the championship. Has scored 8 points now as he has that full-time seat in the Alpine. An 8th place coming at Zandvoort and an 8th place coming in Bahrain. Those are the 2 races he's done. And so you have to say, is it going to be another P8 for PSR Troy? I'm not sure how much he'll like that or not like it. I'm sure getting to the end, though, is up there on the list of priorities. But here goes Harv again there. He's been out on the track quite a lot in this session, which proves he really is committed to this pole position. He is really going to be committed to this track position. However, Adam Dude goes to the top with a 27.5. A really, really strong effort by the Williams driver. And Harv will see that now and know that drivers can match him. He's got to pull something really special out of the bag. As still on wet tyres. 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Harv crossing the line. And he goes back to the top. Pressure not felt for Harv as the reigning pole sitter at this circuit from season 11 goes back to the top and back where he feels he belongs. And Cheeto's been pretty rooted to the lower end of the top 10. P7 so far. He invalidates again. 5 DNFs so far in this session. Limjet, Rafik, Ruben Adams, Flying Rozzy, crucially, the championship leader, Squidge, and Nath, who is now rejoining the action. There's not long to go. I don't think he'll get round again, so I think Nath will be starting plumb last out of the 15 drivers taking part this evening. Adam Dude improved again with a 27.4, 0.0. Ooh, wow. Maths clearly isn't my strong point. 0.024, I want to say quicker. Slower, sorry, than Harv. Proving how close it is at this moment in time. Harv, though, coming back into the pit lane. That's going to be a session done. So let's turn our attention to Adam Dude, who's done 2 laps on that set of wet compound tyres. Harv did his best lap after 3 laps. So there is still potential for Adam Dude to snatch it back here as over turn 8 he goes. Plummeting down through turn 9. Next up, turn 10 and 11. That's if he gets there following a massive slide. And down through 12 he goes. It's not looking too good for Adam Dude after that slide. Harv now retiring. He can do no more in this qualifying session. Rounding turn 14 then for Adam Dude. And he's got just part of the 969 metre long main straight to complete to go up to the line. Can he beat Harv as the checkered flag falls in Portimao? He can't quite do it. 4/10 off his previous best. Typical F1 not improving at this stage. The Humperdinck 9/1000ths of a second down on his personal best lap at this stage. Troy is out there improving. Liam Hardman is next across the line. What can he do? He snatches 4th away from the Humperdinck and goes on to the second row at this moment in time. Steve F1 is backwards. It's been a nightmare session for Ferrari. TTM Rossi is spinning off the track as we speak. Cheetah invalid once more. Let's go back to Troy then, who's purple in the middle sector. However, only a 10th up. I don't quite think it's going to be challenging for pole as he slides off the track. Crucially, Troy goes off and the Humperdinck next, who's done 6 laps on those wet tyres. Has he got anything to answer for his teammate's pole position lap? Round in the final corner then goes the Humperdinck. He takes a really aggressive approach into there. He runs wide. Does he keep it valid? I think so, but he crosses the line, stays 5th fastest. Could not improve on his personal best, but it's Harv then taking pole position in back-to-back seasons at Portimao. A mightily impressive lap from Harv. Confirmation there of the qualifying results. It's an all British top 5 from Harv down to the Humperdinck German driver Troy in P6, followed by Steve F1, Cheetah, TTM Rossi and Limpjet rounding out the top 10, but that means nothing. It's a free choice of strategy for everyone. Tyres are available from soft through to hard, so that's going to make for a really interesting outcome here in Portimao. Should it stay dry? Let's take a look. I've not really been able to look, but yeah, completely blue skies. It looks like a completely different circuit, a completely different country to what we saw just a few moments ago. But Portimao, a spectacle of a track then. a surprisingly long wait, but the formation lap is underway. I did just top up my own drink. I underestimated how much wind this would take out of me, and I'm not making excuses. I just did. But however, strategy then. Liam Hardman, Flying Rozzy, Nath and Ruben Adams all going for the soft tyres. The rest on the medium compound. 33 laps ahead. Harv, pole sitter in back-to-back seasons. Can he make it wins in back-to-back seasons? That is the question now. It's likely we're going to see a one-stop. Either way, soft, medium, medium, soft. Based on the choice of tyres. There's a huge demand on the front left particularly, as there are a lot of high-speed right-hand turns at this track. Two corners to go then, and we can have a grid formed. Squidge and Nath tangling on the formation lap. Two drivers, well, one of them retired in qualifying, the other one qualified plumb last. Promoted a place due to Ruben Adams' 5-place grid penalty. He'll look to have an aggressive race, try and build on his return to the F1 game. Was looking for something to phrase that, but indeed, that is the case. But it's Harv leading the way then to the grid for a 33-lap race in Portugal. Typical F1, who starts third, finished third here last season under the name Isas. He often speaks the words about never giving up. He's still got a championship to chase. 95.5 points to his name. 154 to Flying Rozzy's name. With 5 races to go. Is that gap going to be closed this evening? On come the lights. 5 red lights on ahead of the drivers. And out. And we're underway. Is it going to be a good getaway for Harv? Takes a long, long time getting out of first gear, really. And he's already been smothered on the straight by Adam Dude, who's up into the lead after starting P2 in this race. He's searching for back-to-back race victories, and he's already up into the lead of the race. The Humperdinck into fourth. It looked like he had a little eye on overtaking his teammate Harv, and here comes Liam Hardman. Harv being eaten up on the opening lap. Down the inside goes the Alfa Romeo. Harv has gone from first to third in just the space of 5 corners, but wheel to wheel they go through turn 6 and onto turn 7 they go. Harv tucks in behind the Alfa Romeo, and that settles that for the time being. Next up behind him is the Humperdinck. However, filtering through the field then, we've got Troy in P5, Steve in P6, Cheetah in P7, Flying Rozzy gets a good start up to P8, crucially, on those soft tyres. Typical F1 has a horrible start, going from 3rd to 9th, and TTM Rossi currently in a duel with Squidge, the 2 Honda-powered cars, up into turn 13 now. A great front row seat with Rafik, and still they go wheel to wheel. It's TTM Rossi on the outside. And that just about settles that for the time being, with Squidge up to P13. But what an eventful lap one that was, with Adam Dude leading the way. More importantly for the championship, Flying Rozzy up to P7, overtaking Cheetah early on. We're going to see a Kimi Raikkonen-like drive from Flying Rozzy, gaining many, many positions in the opening few laps by virtue of being on the better tyre. Down the inside he goes of Steve F1, and this progress resumes. TTM Rossi appears to have spun out on the exit of turn 4, so he's already got a long, long way to claw himself back into this race. It is not looking good at this moment in time. But still eyes on Flying Rossi. 6th at the moment. Reeling in Troy, the Humperdinck, and the top 3. For a chance at extending his championship lead. And likewise, Liam Hardman is on the soft compound of tyre. But doesn't seem to be harrying Adam Dude at this stage. A small weave from Troy. Perhaps signifying, yeah, I'll make it easy for you. But just get close first. Or maybe the other way around. It's hard to know. There's occasionally a few weaves in league races. Whether you can decode them or not, I'm not so sure. But DRS now enabled on lap 3. Opening and closing for Troy. But there's no overtake at this stage for Flying Rossi. We have to say now with the DRS, Liam is surely going to fancy his chances of getting into the lead, extending his gap and making the most of these soft tyres, matching the glistening red of the Alfa Romeo. A beautiful helicam as they weave down through 12 and up to turn 13. Slightly uphill throughout. And then you descend through turn 14. And then on to the final corner where you've got to weigh up an overtake. This is what Liam Hardman's doing at this early stage of the race as we go on board with the Alfa Romeo driver. Overtake engaged. DRS now open. And this is going to be a breeze for the Alfa Romeo driver. To the right-hand side he goes. He gets the job done on the start of lap 4. And Flying Rossi gets the job done on Troy. Slightly wide in the process, but move already done. Nothing illegal about that, unless he picked up, of course, a warning for exceeding track limits, which will be crucial as we get into the closing stages of the race. Remember last week at Australia was round 4. Australia was a lot of penalties, which, of course, with the shortened race in the end, did cost many people the chance of some really good points, and did of course make it difficult for our tier coordinators, Harv and the Humperdinck in the Aston Martins, to work their heads around the results from last week's race. But full credit to them for what they do for this tier, the league in general, particularly Luke. He's absolutely non-stop with this thing. Cannot thank him enough. Huge milestones in the league recently regarding YouTube, regarding Twitch. It's been incredible. The deals as well for the top tiers of WOR really gaining traction as a platform, and it's fantastic to see. However, speaking of the Humperdinck, is he about to get overtaken as DRS open for Flying Rossi? Pulls to the right hand side, down the inside at turn 1. Is it going to be an easy move? Yes, it is for Flying Rossi. However, the Humperdinck will have a chance if he fancies to go for it again on Flying Rossi. DRS open now once again. He's got to think about Troy, Cheetah, others in his race behind him. But at this moment in time, he stays put in P5. Starting lap 6 then, it's Liam Hardman out in front, 1.1 second over Adam Dude, now 1.1 seconds over Harv as he goes up into second place. Remember, that is a crucial race between Harv and Adam Dude in this race, both on the same strategy at this stage. Squidge seems to have left the session. I'll try and get him back in. tuning in with the race leader, Liam Hardman, who let his gap slip just a touch as the medium tyres stood to get a foothold in this race. 7 tenths now the gap, and Harv, who really blew it on the opening lap. A poor start, conceding the position to Adam Dude, then Liam down the inside at turn 5. It's now within a shout of retaking the lead of this Portuguese Grand Prix, and how he desperately would just love a race win this season. He's not even been on the podium. He really fancied it in Australia, but a cut short race denied that for him. A shame to see, because he is a really, really talented driver on his day. Really puts a foot wrong in terms of wheel-to-wheel racing etiquette as well. Good battle here between Nath and Troy. Troy just slipping behind his teammate quite significantly, and Nath on the soft tyres will go down the inside. Say thank you very much. I'll take P7 with Steve F1 waiting in the wings behind as well. This battle in the lower end of the points is hotting up. Checking back in with Harv then. 6 tenths and closing now the gap down to 5, maybe even 4 by the end of the straight, and make that 3. As Harv now the favourite, with your own eyes, to take the race lead through turn 4. They go. Difficult corner. Both making a meal of it though. Plenty of battery. In the MGUK of Harv. And is he prepared to use it? Now just 3 tenths behind Liam. As soon as the car is straightened up, he'll be on it. And with the DRS open as well, is he going to retake the lead of this race? The pole sitter Harv, the race winner last season Harv, here at Portimao, goes around the outside at the first corner and retakes the lead on lap 9 of 33. A job well done so far, even if the opening lap was a bit of an anomaly. Now, he'll try to streak clear. Adam Dude is going to need to overtake the Alfa Romeo as well. So the further half can get away, best chance he's got in this race. And it really is a crunch time in terms of strategy, thinking forward for what you're going to do later on in the race. Adam Dude seems to be really struggling with ERS down to just 25%. Liam on about 20%. But Harv excelling in that department as well, on 80% at this stage as well. Further back, still a nice train for the lower ends of the point. Steve F1, that's preparing a move on Troy, who's not got DRS on Nath. So let's see how this one goes. It's medium against medium. It's a straight fight. But I think Steve F1 will stay put for the time being. Maybe they'll work together as an unofficial team to get onto the back of the train just in front as well. Reared by Nath, led by Flying Rossi, who's 4 seconds behind the top 3. But doing a good job, you have to say, on those soft tyres. Had to try and get something out of this race. Can't take his eye off the championship. I'm sure he'd love it. Perhaps tell you he doesn't. TTM Rossi, Squidge and Troy picking up penalties so far. I'm not sure what's going on with TTM Rossi. He's really not having a good race. Spun, I believe, on the second lap at turn 4. Still, Liam Hardman splits half, splits Adam Dude. In this fight for the win. It is really looking like a 3-horse race at the moment. But who's going to come out on top? Liam closing in again. It's not giving up in this opening stint. As his tyres start to just grain. You can see it graphically, and a lock-up certainly doesn't help either. Troy and Cheetah going at it, and it seems that Cheetah has dropped a couple of positions here, and maybe even another. What's the situation with Cheetah, who I'm sure would have loved a long-awaited fight for some points, for some good points, but now his race is unravelling for whatever reason I don't know. He was overtaken by Troy, and now he comes into the pit lane. This is perhaps a retirement for whatever reason it needs to be. Without speculating, I think it could be. Could be an early end to Cheetah's race once he pulls into the pit box. There is a new front wing on the Alpine. It didn't look heavily damaged. I might have missed something. Was it contact with his teammate? Was it contact with the car in front? At this stage, I regret not knowing. He's back out on hard tyres, which of course is a massive disadvantage on a soft-medium strategy. But Harv still maintaining a good gap out in front. Again, extending his gap to just over 1 second. Rafik picking up a time penalty. The 5th driver to do so in this race. Following both AlphaTauris, Troy, Squidge and now himself. And Liam comes into the pit lane for his early pit stop off the compound of tyres. You assume he'd go on to mediums. However, it is a long way to go. Still another 20 laps. So whether he feels comfortable with it, we'll have to find out shortly. They look yellow to me. Medium tyres go on for Liam, and away he goes again. He'll rejoin in 11th place, perhaps even 12th, as Squidge races down the start-finish straight, but Liam gets to the line, and Squidge is still ghosted. I'm going to double check if he needed another invite. It appears not. And this is a crunch stage of the race for Liam. Needs to think about tyre management, but also needs to think about picking up the pace. We've got a spinner, and it's TTM Rossi at the first corner. He's coming up to being lapped. So Misery continues for the Tier 4 driver. Not to say he should stay there, of course, but yeah, this isn't reflective of what he can do. He said he felt competitive going into this. Nathan, off the soft tyres as well. And he'll rejoin the race in 12th place. About 6-7 seconds down the road from Liam. Showing what a great soft stint he put in. And why it still could be a winning strategy, that soft medium. Harv out in front then by 2.6 seconds. Stretching his legs over the chasing Adam dude. The yellow flag in Sector 3. That's because TTM Rossi has now retired in the pit lane. Becoming the first DNF towards the halfway point of this race. Now in Sector 1 as well, as his car comes out the pit lane. Someone else coming out the pit lane is Flying Rossi. Was 4th in the race. Pitted, comes out in 11th. About 6 seconds down the road from Liam. It's a target. Try and close that gap. Try and get yourself within the mix of, say, Adam Dude, who's really dropping back now from Harv. Did he push too hard too soon? Has he just not got the feeling underneath him to push that car to its limits? Who knows? But whatever it is, it's giving Harv more and more likely chance every single passing lap to go on and win his first race of the season. It was Adam Dude who did that last week, of course. But it's Harv, yet to pick up a podium this season. A win would mean so much to that man. Well, if you are just joining us, no, I won't say the line, but again, I hope you're having a great day. WOR Tier 3, 5 races to go. You join us halfway through the first of the 5. Ruben Adams has crashed, whether deliberately or not. It is on the track, and it could cause a nightmarish safety car for the drivers. However, I think they might have got away with it. Crashed on the part of the racetrack where no one was really passing through, and just like that, the car has disappeared. A double DNF for the debutants in the AlphaTauris, and a day to forget at a difficult circuit. You have to say that it's Portimao. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Very Marmite since its introduction to the F1 2021 game. It's F1 22. Which, by the way, is an awful name. Does not make any sense. It just sounds like you're saying 122. It's not the 122nd F1 game, is it? But hey-ho. Harv. Adam Juice, they don't care at the moment. Limp Jet, caring enough to overtake typical F1, who would really like to outscore Flying Rossi this evening, though unlikely at this stage. Or what's happening to the Humperdinck? He's side by side, in fact, with Troy. The Humperdinck picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Now tries to go back on the German driver and almost attempting a cutback. But now we're seeing a great fight for the podium position net. So later in this race, it might form even to be a 4th or a 5th place. The great fight brewing nonetheless. Troy, the first to pit off the medium tyres, and he comes to the pit lane. And while this is bold, he's got a 3-second penalty to his name. So needs to try and work with that to secure the best possible result. And by pitting early, does he perhaps just leave himself open? I'm not quite sure, but certainly open to pitting again following a safety car maybe, or trying to extend the gap nice and early from an undercut. Whatever his aim is, I do hope it pays off. Oh, well, he's picked up another on his outlap on the soft tyres, so you can really start waving goodbye to a podium. I know it was a long stretch. Finishing up lap 18 then. Still out in front, and now by about 5 seconds over Adam Dude. This gets better and better as time goes on. And Rafikan, typical F1, now coming into the pits as well. That filters Liam, Flying Rozzy and Nath, drivers who pit off the soft tyres first, into 6th, 7th and 8th respectively. And Nath, who is just 1.4 seconds behind the championship leader, may well fancy getting involved with a battle at some point. But Troy, right on both of their heels, will be a goner shortly. And Adam Dude comes in, takes the earlier pit stop out of the two drivers out front. Cheetah picking up a 3-second time penalty. Remember, he's on the hard tyres and very much out of this race following a wing change as well. But Adam Dude into his Williams pit box, the last one on the 2020 championship grid, as the pit boxes are ordered. But out he comes then. Liam out in front of him, but soft tyres on for Adam Dude. Only 3 seconds behind Liam. 2 seconds needed to get within his DRS. It's a task only accomplishable if he can put his mind to it. I'm sure that's the focus now for Adam Dude, who I'm sure will be satisfied with what would be a 4th podium finish in a row. If it is second, a 4th second place finish of the season. And now Harv, 1 lap later, into the pits as well. The race leader by some amount into the pit lane, and without a speeding penalty, crucially. On go the soft tyres to go and complete this race, but crucially, where does Liam come out in all of this? He wasn't too far behind. He's had a good 6 laps on those mediums now to try and close the gap. Harv exiting the pit lane now. You'll see him on his right-hand side shortly. But even still, Harv has put in an incredible 20-lap stint on those soft tyres to come out still ahead of Liam Hardman, and crucially clear of DRS as well, to where he can start extending that gap once again. An incredible stint, and I can't praise it highly enough. Typical F1, who did also pit recently. He's come out in this race in P11. Well, you all know that's no points at the moment. It's pretty much guaranteed at least one off Cheetah, the tyre situation and the penalties. Adam Dude, and dare I say it, still has something left to offer in this race. A fastest lap just then. Harver's not been able to pump in his best effort yet. The gap has shrunk to about 4 seconds. And should Adam Dude quickly get in Liam's DRS, that will give him an extra boost, an extra motive to try and chase down Harv, who still is in a significantly better ERS position. So he's got a lot to defend with, should this battle closen up. Here goes Adam Dude then. DRS enabled this time around. An 18.3 for Harv. An 18.5 on that lap for Adam Dude. But with DRS now, it's not going to get him by the end of the first straight. But by turn 5 and the second DRS straight, there's a real chance for Adam Dude to take P2 on the racetrack. And there is the DRS detection point. There is the DRS zone, and the DRS open once again for Adam Dude. Oh, he lifts off. Is he going to try and save some battery? Liam runs a bit wide. Oh, don't tell me there's desync. Not now. Similar to what we had in Australia, if that is the case. But it seems like it's quickly fixed up. I heard there was a patch on PC today. But nothing for Xbox, which still suffers from these issues. Not sure why it's been swept onto the carpet as much as it has, but sure. Adam Dude, third time lucky. It's a lot closer this time than he was one lap ago. And very shortly, he'll have DRS open once again. He'll be back in the slipstream of the Alfa Romeo. Which way is he going to go? He has left or right to choose from. He sticks to the racing line. Either way, Liam Hardman had no answer for that one. But could do still. Down in towards turn 5, where the Alfa Romeo will have DRS. Here comes... excuse me. Here comes Nath, crucially, on Flying Rozzy for P5 in this race. And that is denying Flying Rozzy a few more championship points as it stands. And just behind the championship leader as well, Steve, Troy and Limpjet closing in now as well. Troy was giving a real good go on Steve F1 for P7 despite the couple of penalties to his name. The Humperdinck though is still out there 23 laps in on those medium tyres. 3-second penalty to his name. Perhaps gambling on a safety car here. And after Rafik's spin... tensions rising. That could still be the case. I wonder how many warnings the top contenders have. Well, as the Humperdinck comes into the pits, it's a good time to take a look. The Humperdinck on a penalty. Adam Dudes then on just the one warning. Harv on just the one as well. Liam on the one warning. Nath on 3. Flying Rozzy on 2. Steve on 1. So if they don't have a penalty, you're saying about 1 or 2 warnings at this moment in time. And after a fastest lap for Adam Dude, the gap has opened up a little bit again, but just one more warning, one more track extend could spell trouble for some of these drivers. There's a retirement in the pit lane for Rafik, who had a spin just a moment ago. And Steve F1 is wheel to wheel now with Flying Rossi. Through turn 6 they go. Are they going to go wheel to wheel still into 7? McLaren against Ferrari, and the Ferrari coming out on top. With Steve F1 having a really good race now, up into P5 with P4 in his sights. What a great result that would be for Steve F1, who has picked up one podium this season. That was back in Austria. A 5th place finish back in Bahrain as well. So a good effort on the whole from Steve F1 this season. Another top 5 result on the cards. Continuing on with this battle. Steve 6/10 back. And closing and Flying Rossi. Wow, goodness me. That is bullying. That is quite literally cyberbullying on the main straight. No DRS for Flying Rossi. Limpjet and Troy did have DRS. And the extra advantage it gives, particularly down the start-finish straight at Portimao, there was no match. There was no hope for Flying Rossi, who as it stands only scores 4 points from this race. And should Adam Dude pick up 18, which it looks like he will. Oh, and there's a spin. There's a spin at the top of the turn 8 corner for Limpjet, and that collects, wow, that collects Steve F1, and it collected Troy as well. Was looking at the standings, was trying to figure out some maths. But a really surprising incident. I believe it was Nath that spun, actually. Do forgive me if I was wrong. It was in the complete heat of the moment. Seeing the incident, and there's definitely front wing damage on Steve F1, and I was talking about a top 5 finish for him. That's vanished immediately. And Flying Rossi, who was sat in P8, without a real route back into this race, as everyone around him was on the soft tyres, is now back up into P5, and his championship lead just looks that ever more stable ahead of the final 4 rounds of the season through an incident that collected a couple of cars with it. Unbelievable scenes at Portimao, 6 laps from home. Back to the leaders and half. Now with 6 laps to go. I should correct myself. Has a 6-second lead over Adam Dude. It just gets stronger and stronger every single lap. Leon Hardman now 2 seconds behind Adam Dude in 2nd place. Limpjet finding himself up into 4th. And Limpjet, who's finished no higher than 5th this season, is currently on for his best result of the season. Troy, who has a few penalties to his name, is still within this duel with Flying Rossi. He seems to be struggling quite a lot. Is there front wing damage on the Alpine? He was certainly one of the culprits within the incident. And typical F1 has really not been able to capitalise in this race. Should we go back to doing the math, shall we? Well, Adam Dude will move on to, with 18 points scored, it would be 112.5 points for Adam Dude. And Flying Rossi will go on to 164. Sorry, so that leaves Flying Rossi with a 51.5 point lead. And with 4 races to go, he can win the championship next time out in Saudi Arabia, though a slim chance. Speaking of a slim chance, Nath, who had an outside chance in this race after overtaking Flying Rozzy, being caught up in that incident, now having to wriggle his way past typical F1. Steve F1 pumping in the fastest lap of the race, now on his own in P12. 4 laps to go when Harvey crosses the line in a few seconds' time. Excellence defined. Another personal best lap for him, setting a purple final sector in the process. He's getting quicker and quicker. This is a fight worth watching. The Humperdinck closing in on Troy, who's closing in on Flying Rozzy. He's picked one off the Humperdinck. Next up is Flying Rozzy. A 3-second time penalty to the reigning champion's name. Next up is the championship leader of Season 12 here in WOR Tier 3. And again overtaking Gage DRS Open. And that McLaren does just look sluggish on the straights. It's really not been set up properly by the looks of it. We saw it in qualifying. It's vigorous defending from Flying Rozzy, but the Humperdinck switches to the inside at turn 6 and does get the job done. Question is now, can he extend 3 seconds in the remaining 3.5 laps? Well, that's 1 second extended for the Humperdinck. And the 1 out of the 3 laps he needs to be able to do that. It looks good. If he wants this P5, as Troy putting Flying Rozzy under all sorts of pressure. As it stands, I think Troy will drop maybe just outside of the points. No, he'll drop down to P10. Ignore me. So that is a point as it stands. Troy is definitely going to be looking at that penalty front and highlighting that as an area to improve. There's no formal debriefs in the slightly less significant WOR Tier 3 races. We're talking F1 esports and other motorsport esports where you see those levels of debriefs with data. But really, at this level, it's more just personal gain. What can you do on the track? Flying Rozzy. Seems like another off day for him. Which after dominating the championship all season, the gap could still close. Particularly by Adam Dude and TMS Hayden, his TMS teammate. I'll be debriefing, asking why he's washed. To be fair, I don't think the gap does him a lot of justice for his previous few rounds, but you have to say, he's been no match for this man Harv, who starts the final lap now, 8.5 seconds out in front. And we'll stay right in touch with this man, hoping he doesn't put all this hard work through qualifying and through the race to waste. As up through turn 4 he goes for one final time. It's a difficult corner. He's nailed it though. And he's still improving. 1,000th up on his personal best lap coming through the end of the first sector. He's now able to use his battery, in which he saved so well throughout the course of this race, to his heart's content. Next up, turn 8. Another challenge for any driver on the F1 game. Again, absolutely no issue. Plummeting down and rising up again. He's not been fearful of this roller coaster. The Sector 2 split, again, matching his personal best. It just seems like he's not had a fiddle with those tyres, with the mediums or the softs, in which he's executed this strategy perfectly. What a day in the office for Harv. He took pole position at Portimao last season. He took pole position at Portimao this season. He won the race at Portimao last season. He wins the race at Portimao this season. Define excellence. There it is. A perfect drive from Harv once more in Portugal. Unbelievable. What a drive. And there it is. It's his first race win of the season. A job well done. A master at work. It was a long time coming, but he's done it. Let's get him in the party, shall we? And credits to Adam Dude. Another second place as he closes in on the championship lead. Just a little bit more, though not enough at this stage to really question him whether he can do it. Although, should we be sneaky on that front? Wow, what a race that was. Another one to take the voice away. Driver of the day going unofficially to Limpjet. But I don't think there's a driver that deserves it more, really, than the race winner, climbing up to the top step of the podium. Yes, it was only 15 drivers, but it made them all look like fools. Well, moving on to the results then, and then the interviews to follow. Harv, Adam Dude and Liam, the top three. First, second and fourth on the grid respectively. Liam making that jump up to the podium. Limpjet, a great result from 10th up to 4th. The Humperdinck started 5th, ended up in 5th as well. Flying Rossi in 6th place, which I believe swings the championship 10 points. That reduces the gap by 10 points, I want to say there. Typical F1 in P7, followed by Nath, Cheetah and Troy rounding out the top 10. Steve F1 was unlucky. It looked like a top 5 finish was on the cards. Finishes 11th. Rafik, Ruben Adams, TT and Rossi and Squidge, the DNFs in the race. Right, let's get a word out of our top 3. We'll start with you, Liam. 4th place on the grid, 3rd in the end. A good strategy, even though it was soft to mediums, unlike the rest of your competitors. How satisfied are you with that, and do you regret not using the other reverse strategy?
Nah, I fucked my setup up. I went too high downforce because it was raining. I didn't know what to do, so I just gambled and slapped the softs on.
You have to say though, a podium, I mean, you can still be happy with that. Your results have not been anywhere near close enough to the podium this season by your expectations probably, but just wanted to know what you thought of the podium.
I can't remember the last time I had a podium, to be honest. I don't know. It is what it is. I just want to get this game over and done with and on to the next one, because it's just been a shit one this year, to be honest. I just want to get on to the next game, to be fair.
Well, we'll all find out tomorrow what we can expect. Well done to you, Liam. Let's move on then to Adam Dude, who takes his fourth second place of the season. His 3rd in 4 races, making it 4 podiums in a row. There's a lot of stats to be pleased of there, Adam Dude. I believe you move within 49.5 points of the championship lead, which seems a long way away, but with Flying Rossi's slight dip in form, is it still on for you?
I ain't sure about the championship, but I'm just glad that I've had another podium. I'll say GG to these boys. With me, Harv was too fast for me today. I remember last season's race, he won, if I remember correctly. So this is my most hated track. I'm buzzing with a second, to be fair. So yeah, but I don't think. I mean, I'll keep going, but 49 points, 2 race wins is a lot over Rossi. So we'll see.
So how do you fancy your chances at Jeddah then? Obviously, you're on this great run at the moment. If you can just get as many points as possible, trying to outscore Flying Rossi at least, there's something to aim for. And how do you feel about the track?
Yeah, it's definitely something to aim for. I can't say I'm literally thinking about beating Rossi. I just want to do, my own race like that today and just, see where I end up. But with regards to Jeddah, I don't mind the track, to be honest. So we'll have to see how next week goes. I can't say I've done a huge amount of practice on it, so yeah, we'll just have to see next week.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your time and congratulations on yet another podium. Because I'm going to move on to Harv, who dominated on the medium stint after a rough start, you have to say, but got going in the end, extended significantly, switched onto the softs, again, no problem, consistent every single lap. ERS was not a problem either. One of the best drives I've seen in a while, Harv. Well done to you. How do you feel about another race win at Portimao?
Thank you. Yeah, as I said, I wasn't really that good on the start. I knew Liam would have good grip on the softs, but I also got a pretty poor start, so obviously I lost out to Adam on the run down to turn 1. But then I felt comfortable behind them, and yeah, I just made the moves when I felt like Liam was getting away at the front when he hit the front. But then, yeah, on the softs, very few mistakes. That's probably one of the best races I've driven.
Yeah, great to hear. And you haven't even been on the podium this season. I know you spoke to me last time out, but yeah, Australia was a whitewash in the end with desync. But yeah, you have to say it's been a long time coming for you. And how do you feel that it's finally come to you at a track you really excel at?
Oh, I'm just happy, to be honest. I feel like I've been waiting ages for this. I think I got pretty unlucky in like Bahrain. I think I was running at the front for quite a bit of that and Mexico. But yeah, I really do like this track. Definitely my favourite track on the game. So pleased to get my first win since this track last season.
Great to hear. Is there going to be another podium, maybe a win in the remaining 4 rounds?
I wouldn't imagine at the next race, but maybe the last 3 we'll have to see.
Can't wait. Thank you for your time, guys, indeed. And yeah, another one that snatched my voice away. Another 90 minutes or so on my own up in WOR Pretend Commentary HQ. But jokes aside, been a pleasure. Thank you everyone for watching. See you next time in Jeddah. Keep in touch over the rest of the week, of course, as Richarlison nearly scores a header.